Welcome to the Kidlit Distancing Social. I'm Laura Backus, publisher of Children's Book Insider, the Children's Writing Monthly, and we are very happy that you're here tonight. We've got a really interesting guest tonight. If you are brand new to us, as a lot of you are, I've noticed, which is great, welcome. And if you would like to get on our mailing list to hear about all of our guests every week on the Kidlit Distancing Social, as well as other cool stuff we do, you can go to writeforkids.org/ultimate cheat sheet. Fill out your name and your email. You'll get on our mailing list and you will get a free gift. Free gift, not one you have to pay for, called the Ultimate Children's Writing Cheat Sheet, which compiles 30 years worth of tips that we have on getting started writing for kids. This is our 30th anniversary in business this year. We're actually getting to the end of our 30th year. May will be starting year 31. So this ebook kind of pulls it all together for you. So that's yours for free if you get on our mailing list. And if you're interested in subscribing to our newsletter, Children's Book Insider, which is celebrating its 30th year of publication, you can go to writeforkids.org/CBI. And we have a special offer for our socialites, $5 a month. Gets you a newsletter delivered to your inbox every month. It's about 20 pages a month. Has lots of articles on writing for kids, interviews with editors and agents, published authors, market tips, all kinds of stuff. We also have an exclusive above the slush code given to us every month by either an agent or an editor that you can use as a subscriber when you submit so that your manuscript jumps over the slush pile. That's very cool. And you'll have access to our CBI Clubhouse online membership site, which has tons of information in it from 30 years that you will have access to along with your subscription. So every week we celebrate the successes of you. So today I have a cool one. Susan Twiggs says she was a Storystorm 2021 grand prize winner and was paired with Miranda Paul of Erin Murphy Literary Agency, who will give her feedback on 5 story ideas, which is awesome. Miranda Paul's also a very well-known writer, and she is a literary agent, so that is great. And if you don't know what Storystorm is, it's a month-long brainstorming event that takes place in January every year. And you register to participate, and you create 30 story ideas in 30 days. And those who register and complete the challenge then are eligible for prizes, such as being paired up with an agent who's going to look at 5 story ideas. So that is awesome. So congrats, Susan. And I'm sure that you're going to get a lot of great feedback from Miranda on that. So if you want information about Storystorm for next year, it just ended. So, you have to wait a year. But Tara Lazar is an author who organizes this. And there's the link there, taralazar.com/storystorm. You can go check it out and register for next year. So I want to hear your good news. Email me at mail@writeforkids.org and put celebrate in the subject line. And we'll feature you on a future Kidlit Distancing Social. It can be anything. It can be a publication. It can be you won a contest. It can be you found an agent. It can be you found a critique partner. Anything. We want to celebrate with you. So keep that good news coming. So here's a couple links of interest that I like to give you a couple good links every week. There's a great article in the Washington Post called 50 Years Later, the monster at the end of this book is still selling and inspiring authors. And it was in the Washington Post, January 27th. And it's an excellent article because it really shows how this classic book influenced and changed what a picture book could be and has had an impact on writers who are creating books today. And I just love when we see those connections through the years with children's books. So I gave you a direct link here, bit.ly, monster end of book. And even if you don't subscribe to the Washington Post, you should be able to read the article. They usually give you like 5 free articles a month. So check that out. And a post by moi came out today. The best picture book biographies get personal, and it's posted on the NonFiction Fest 2021 blog, which is great. If you don't know what this is, go to nffest.com. NonFiction Fest takes place for 30 days in February and the first couple days of March every year. There's a new blog post every day about writing nonfiction for kids or teens. And there are activities or sort of challenges that go with it to help you get your own writing going. And there are prizes, and it's free. So go check that out. My post came out today. And so nffest.com is the best way, to get to that. But I also put a bit.ly link at the bottom there that goes straight to my post if you want to do that. Though I really recommend you just go to the blog and look at everyone's posts because they're really, really awesome. So now I get to introduce my wonderful guest for tonight. So since 2015, Colleen Noyes has been owner of Itsy Bitsy Book Bits book promotion company, focusing on indie authors and those who are published traditionally but who want to set up their own marketing campaigns. And Itsy Bitsy Book Bits, that's hard to say fast, is a host for all things author related, including cover reveals, promo tours, book spotlights, social media management, and everything in between. You can see here is from a page inside their website. You can see all the kinds of things that they do. Now the website has lots of different categories for lots of different adult genre fiction, inspirational books, family books, which includes nonfiction and clean books, as well as children's and young adult. So they cover the whole array of marketing, and they customize the marketing to whatever kind of book you're writing. So that's really cool. So I'm really excited to talk to Colleen. So Colleen, welcome. Turn on your camera and join me. Hello, there you are.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to the Kidlit Distancing Social. And this is great. I know we've got a lot of people here who are really interested to hear about marketing and what you do. So since we're going to pretty much focus on the children's YA portion of your business tonight, can you give me an idea sort of who's your typical client? Who usually comes to you wanting help with their marketing?
So a pretty good array of all, but mostly indie authors who are independently published, who kind of just don't know anything about the promotion side of it because they don't have those big companies behind them paying for different marketing.
Right.
So a lot of, toddler age children, YA, preteen, those are the authors that come to me.
So a real gamut of ages, books for everyone from toddlers through young adult is what you're helping market. So for those, we do have some new people here tonight, and I know I didn't ask them their experience with publishing, but just so everyone's on the same page, let's define indie author. So indie authors are people who are self-publishing or who have created a small press to publish their own books, as opposed to being published by a traditional publisher who might have a marketing department that would be helping them out. Okay. So marketing is something that often intimidates authors, especially if they are self-publishing their own work, because they really don't know where to start. There's so many moving parts. And we have a lot of self-publishers in our sort of client, customer base. And I think a mistake a lot of them make is they wait until their book comes out to start figuring out how to market it.
Yes.
So when should authors start planning their marketing strategy?
So I have found that if it's for a single book versus if they have a series that they're going to do, the planning stage is different.
Hmm.
I say a minimum of 2 months before the book is even going to be published.
Okay.
Because you want to build up the momentum to publishing. Once it's out there, nobody's heard of you. You're competing with so many different things and you're kind of behind the eight ball.
Hmm.
If you have a series, so if you already know that you're going to be writing a series, maybe it's the third or maybe it's the first, but you know that there's other ones coming after it, then I recommend a little bit longer of a period, 3 to 4 months, so that you can stagger it. The
Okay.
goal is to get you the most exposure
Mhm.
for your series, and that once you have the exposure of the first book, for it to continue when book 2 and 3 and 4 come out. So that's what I have found is the best. Especially because, to get noticed, you need certain things have to happen and things like reviews and that kind of thing. And so you want some of that to start to build up beforehand.
Mhm.
So I have that happen a lot too. Folks will come to me and they'll say, hey, my book's been out for 3 months and nobody knows it exists. And we're
Right.
still able to help with that. I'm still able to get your book notice. I have lots of authors who have done that. But then when they write the second or third book, they know come in a little sooner and we can build some momentum for it.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. So a couple months ahead, and especially if it's your first book, what kinds of things are you going to be doing that far ahead? Is it important to get your website set up and start having an online presence of some sort?
Yes, and key, websites are still important, and I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Mhm.
But social media really is a huge key in today's atmosphere for getting yourself out there. So I like to do a staggered thing, first starting with a cover reveal, doing a cover reveal a couple of months ahead, because that's the first impression that
Mhm.
somebody gets. And a cover is very important. I mean, most readers, and I've done extensive polls,
Mhm.
most readers say they don't even read the synopsis. They look at a cover. If they like the cover, they buy the book.
Right.
So a cover is, very important. So I start with a couple months in advance, putting out your cover, do a
Mhm.
cover reveal, let that be the first thing that catches, then have your pre-order set up, do a pre-order blitz. You could do,
Mhm.
and Itsy Bitsy does a lot of different things along that line to build up to the actual release.
Mhm.
So that's where I would start cover reveal, making sure you have all of your social media accounts set up, whatever it is that you're going to use, Facebook or Instagram.
Mhm.
TikTok has become extremely popular right now. Make sure that you have all of your links set up before you start. So get your Goodreads, at least your name for the Goodreads done.
Mhm.
Start getting your Amazon set up, get your Facebook page set up so that you can start building your fan base so
Mhm.
that they can follow along in the journey and be excited with you.
Right.
And a lot of people wait until their book's already out and say, oh, I don't have any of those social media links. Well, then people have nowhere to find you.
Mhm. Right. Now, do you give people advice on how to start generating fans and followers? You create your Facebook page, you're going to do a cover reveal, but if no one's following you, there's no one to see the cover. So, so do you advise people on how ahead of time, those few months ahead of time, how to start building the followers?
Yes, and we have a plan that we kind of walk them through and say, this is what you want to do. You should start with this. This is how you can build up followers. A great way, is always, of course, start with friends and family. That's an easy one. And
Mhm.
then you ask them to share. But once you get past the family and friends, you're kind of left with, well, I only have 100 family and friends. What am I going to do? Our Facebook page is at 88,000 fans is what I have.
Mhm.
And that started with a lot of little things, things like doing ads. And they're a little bit of expensive, but if you market them directly to what you're trying to get, they follow and somebody sees that they liked it and that follows. So yes, we have a whole criteria that we kind of help walk them through so that they can build it up in advance.
Mhm.
Newsletters, another great tool to start building up their newsletter and to put it consistently in your newsletter, because maybe they don't read the first 4 newsletters, but they happen to read newsletter 6. And then you're like, oh, well, here they are.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many little things like that that can make a huge difference, but you have to remember to do them every time. Keep being consistent with it. You mentioned covers a minute ago and how important they are, and they so are. Do you advise? Do you ever get a client and they show you their cover and you go, I do you ever advise them to get it redesigned?
I try not to give unsolicited advice, but I hope that they ask me.
Mhm.
Because I will say, and I'll usually do a poll. Authors who've been with me for a long time, they've sometimes sent me 2 or 3 versions of their cover. And I ask my in-house review team, which is over 130 people, which cover do you think is the greatest one? They
Mm.
vote on it. And I could then give that feedback back to the author, say, this is what you're looking at. This is the one that's the most eye-catching.
Mhm.
And so I do, we do that. If an author asks me and I think that it's important enough, I absolutely tell them,
Right.
because I'm one of those people that goes off of a cover.
Well, and especially so many people are buying books online now, and that's the first thing you see. And if it doesn't grab you, or if it looks amateur, if it doesn't look professional, and you immediately look at it and go, "That's a self-published book," you might just go right by, not read the description, not read the first page, nothing, which is it's just the way people shop. So you're right; it's very, very important.
And that's how it is in anything. I mean, if you walk into a store, nobody looks at the tag of a shirt. You look at the shirt, and if it
Mm-hmm.
catches your attention, you grab it. Then you worry
Exactly.
about what's on the tag later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's just the way we do it. So we taught you. I don't know if you have anything to add to this. I was going to ask you about the top 3 things that would have the most impact if an author has limited time to market. You mentioned, social media, the Facebook, the newsletter. I know that's a big
That's
one.
Yes. The
Um,
newsletter, social media, and if they're even with a small budget, you can generally find a promotion company, even on a small budget, that can do certain aspects. Maybe you can't afford to do everything that you want, but
right.
you could, have a small budget and have them handle, because what you want to do is be writing. If you're a
Sure.
writer, you want to write. And
Hmm.
in the long run, those are things that help you do that, and that are probably the most important
Hmm.
aspects.
Hmm. Yeah. So in the before time when we could all get together in person, authors loved doing book launches at their local bookstore, having a launch party, having their friends and family come, people from the community. They could sign books. It was awesome. And now we're not really able to do that. Have you found anything that kind of replaces that authors can do virtually?
Yep. So what's been around for a long time is author takeovers. A lot of groups will allow you to come into their group and do an author takeover, and you come in and you interact. You post different things in that Facebook group. These are mostly on Facebook. You could do giveaways. You can talk about your books yourself. People can ask you questions. You interact with that. What we just launched a week ago is we're now doing those via Zoom, so
Mm.
that an author can come in and speak live to people, kind of like you and I are doing now, so that they could come in and do it that way, instead of, kind of putting faces with names and
Mhm.
letting you see each other and ask silly questions. Everybody likes to see their author do silly things that they
Mhm.
maybe don't necessarily meant to have done. But so those have been very popular. Doing little short TikTok videos have been a great way, because people share those tremendously. So if you're an author who's not super shy, and if you liked book events, you're probably not very shy.
Right.
Doing a small little TikTok video, somebody shares those. Sometimes you get 100, 200 hits easily in an afternoon.
Hmm.
So that kind of helps. My favorite are, like I said, author takeovers and Zoom takeovers, where you can interact, because that's what people want. They want the connection. They want to be
Mhm.
able to connect with the author. That's why a lot of people buy the second or the third book. The first book may be off of a cover, but second or third, they feel a connection to the author. They've gotten
Mhm.
to know them. So I found that those are really good in place of book events. You can do virtual signings. Have some authors who have done virtual signings, and they'll come onto a Zoom. They'll do a pre-order of the books ahead of time, paperbacks. People pay for them, and you can watch them sign your book live, and then they mail them out. So that's been kind of something neat that I've seen authors start to do as well.
Wow, I've never even heard of that. That's interesting. Wow. So obviously being comfortable on camera, on video, on a webcam is pretty important these days for promotion as an author. Do you think that's pretty essential, especially certainly during this time when we're doing so much stuff virtually, but even I think after things open back up, people are going to be used to seeing book trailers where the author might have appeared on camera a little bit, or like you said, TikTok is so effective. So, do you ever coach people on how to be comfortable on camera?
I hadn't up until recently. I've had a couple of authors who are very shy. They're like,
Mhm.
I could never do that. And so we've kind of worked through different things, trying it just them and myself, maybe add in one person to try and help them get comfortable.
Mhm.
Because everybody realizes we're all human, and it's a great way. You can't always travel across the world to meet an
Mhm.
author or to see an author, and especially in this time. And I think it, like you said, it's going to be going forward, is we're going to need that
Mhm.
connection. I mean, a lot of us have been trapped in our
Mhm.
homes for a year now, and we want that connection. And I think it's going to become more and more applicable for an author and allow them to do much more than they've ever been able to do before.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Now, children's book authors, if you're writing for basically even middle grade and under, you're pretty much marketing to the adults who are buying the books for the kids. And if you're writing for YA, you can often go, market directly to your readers via social media. But is there a different strategy depending on the kind of children's book you're writing as far as your marketing goes?
Yeah, I think for YA, and I think you would be surprised at the number of adults that really, really love YA. Like
Mhm.
I was surprised because, like I said, I have a huge in-house review team. And when we have a YA book, I'm extremely surprised at how many 40, 50, 60-year-old women and men are signing up for it, and because they like the writing style. So I
Mhm.
think for YA, you have both. You need to market towards the YA reader, because once they get hooked, I have a 21-year-old. She loves the Butler books. And once she got the first one, that was it. And so now she uses her own money, and she's like, I've got money, I'm going to do this.
Mhm.
For toddler and a little bit older, the young age, 5, 6, 7, I think you also have to market to them. As a parent, how many times is it that the kids saw a commercial on their, because they're on social media, even at,
Right.
7, 8, 9, like Snapchat, that kind of thing. How often are you nagged to death because they saw a commercial, they saw something in the middle of their cartoon, they were flipping through something on their phone and this little ad came up?
Mhm.
And that's what finally parents just give up and say, whatever it is you're bugging me about, you've got it. I'll give it to you.
Yes.
So I think it's important to market to both the child or the young adult and the parents who are spending the money.
Mhm.
But like I said, once you get into the young adult, 15 and older, they're buying a lot of their stuff themselves, because parents are saying, well, I've already done this and this and this. You've already had your birthday or Christmas. You got your own money, buy it.
Right.
So I think it's very important to not only market to the parent who's buying,
Yeah.
because nagging goes with it.
Sure. Well, and certainly in the last year, a lot of children's book authors have done readings of their books on YouTube as a way to have sort of a virtual story time, and that's obviously being marketed directly to the kids, and those are becoming very popular. So there are a lot of, like you said, ways you can do both, straight to the kids and to the parents, though
And
the
that's what
parents
happened.
have to know to find your YouTube video to show their child. So
Yes,
there's still a little extra step there,
yes.
I think.
And YouTube has become extremely popular.
Hmm.
We started Itsy Bitsy probably 14 or 15 months ago, doing a YouTube channel where any book that's promoted with us, we read the first chapter live on YouTube for that author as part of their package. And it
Mm.
has become extremely popular because people get to hear it and then
Oh
they
yeah.
buy it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, those
Yeah.
are
First,
extremely.
a first chapter giveaway is a great hook because then you want to keep going with the story. So that's great.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when you're making, I'm not talking about you specifically, I'm talking in general here. When authors are making videos where they're maybe reading their work or they're creating some sort of little book trailer, sneak peek kind of thing, how high tech do you have to get? Is it okay to be sort of charmingly just low tech and yourself? Or is it better to get some help if you need it to make it polished and professional?
I think in some instances it's great to be polished, but the goal is to have people connect with you. And if you are
Mhm.
so perfect, people aren't going to connect because they're not going to see you as themselves. They're going to see
Right.
you as, oh, I don't know, that person's very, very polished. For us, you always want to have enthusiasm.
Mhm.
The ones that we get the most hits on or that people talk about the most are where we have a little bit of animation, or if we make a mistake, and say a wrong word, a lot of people will be like, oh, I wouldn't have known how to say that stupid word either.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about being your true self, about
Mhm.
showing that it's okay to be goofy, it's okay to be fun, because people want to have fun, they want to laugh, they want to enjoy it.
Mhm.
If you want something super polished, you can always do the Kindle text to speech, or, they're very, very stagnant, very polished, and you always have that choice. But if you're a fun person, you want somebody to be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I think too the kids, especially the younger the kids are, the audience, they like seeing you as a person,
Right.
um, even if you're goofy or you drop the book or your cat walks through the frame or whatever. I think that's good.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
want to see that funny stuff. They want to see, you holding your dog up by your shoulder, because then they're looking at the dog, then they're more looking at you and they're like, wait, she has a dog, and that kind of stuff. And I think it's important, especially with the youth, not to be so serious all the time. There's
Mhm.
enough seriousness in this world for all of us right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about websites, author websites. What are the important elements you feel are absolutely necessary for an author website?
Social media links for sure, making sure that that is on your homepage, your front page, so that they're easy to access you. So that if they're not necessarily a website person, websites aren't as important as they were even 4 years ago.
Mhm.
Very important to have, but people want that quick access, and they are not going to spend more than 5 or 6 minutes on your website. They're just not. They're going to come, and if they can't easily find what they want, they're out.
Mhm.
So having those social media links on the homepage, very important.
Mhm.
I also think that one of the highlights is a biography. Tell them a little bit about you. They want to know about your books, and that should be on there. But people connect to people, and so to know a little bit about you, why you are writing a book, if you have 25 cats, if you are whatever, if you're into whatever, that's what they want to know. So you want to catch them so that they connect with you immediately.
Mhm.
If you have a series, it's very important to have the series order somewhere on your website, so that when people go to look for whatever book, maybe they saw book 3, that they're not searching all over Amazon or Barnes and Nobles trying to figure out, well, where does this start? Where does it end? So if you have series, have the series order on your website. But on your website, just a few links on the homepage that they can easily find,
Mhm.
because people have a short span as far as searching. They want the very quick access,
Mhm.
and a picture. I always think some kind of a photo, even if you have somebody draw a cartoon version of you,
Mhm.
just something that they can connect to, that they can say, oh, I like this, and,
Mhm.
and feel connected to you immediately. I think those are huge things to have on your website.
Right. Do most of your clients find they can just build their own, like a WordPress site pretty easily, or do you advise that they hire a professional?
I think some of it depends on how many books you have.
Mm.
When I started, I had a very small website. It grew because my clientele grew, and so I had WordPress I had thrown together all by myself 5 years ago. And so I think, there's if you're going to spend money, spend it on promoting, marketing first. have a basic website that you could probably do yourself, like through GoDaddy, they have a WordPress tutorial that'll walk you through it pretty easy. Then as you grow your website.
Right.
I don't think it's necessary for people to spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a website. I think that is money that could be well spent other places. Once you get to that level, then I advise hiring somebody to do your website, at least the basic of it, and then learn how to make all of the changes, how to do the additions, so that you can then do it later on.
Right, right. And once you learn that stuff, it's not that hard.
No.
It looks intimidating at first, but I've done it. So if I can do it, anybody can. What about so you want a way for people to sign up for your author newsletter on the website as well. Do you advise one of those pop-up windows so that people really can't avoid, I mean, they can close the window, but they see immediately how to sign up for your newsletter, or do most people find those annoying?
I have one on my website and I highly recommend it, because if that's what they're there to look for, especially if they've seen you mention something on social media, on Facebook or Instagram, or one of those that say, sign up for my newsletter. They don't want to search your whole website to find your newsletter, because all they're caring about at that exact moment is whatever you've already mentioned. And I think it's the best way to get people right away. I haven't had anybody say it's annoying. I don't find it annoying when I go to a website. I appreciate that I don't have to search for it and can put in my information right away and not have to worry about it. So yeah, I always recommend on your homepage, having that quick little pop-up. I'm not asking for a million things. Mine's pretty simple: first, last name, email address.
Right.
But if you get too crazy, then it's going to scare people off. I've had some where they want your address, they want your phone number, they want your email, they want your birthday, they want my firstborn. So that's what you'll want to stay away from. But yeah, I think it's a great tool to have right then and there.
Okay, great. But I agree with the website having to be easy to navigate. I lose patience after about 30 seconds especially if I'm specifically looking for something like a list of the author's books or their bio or how to contact them. Those are the three reasons I generally go to a website. And if there's not a tab across the top or down the side or something instantly that I can do that, I'm out of there. Yeah.
And that's one of the other, most important things that I had on my notes too, is the contact us. A lot of authors won't put it on there, and they say, well, I don't want people to contact me. Well, of course you do. They're your fans. So you're writing for your fans. The point is to interact. So I always say, have a contact us. It's very important for that information.
Sure. And just, another thing to think about is it might be someone like me wanting to contact you because I want to interview you for my newsletter and highlight your book. And so you could miss out on a free promotional opportunity because you don't have contact information on your website. So there's a lot of reasons to have it. Absolutely. Okay, well, I do want to get to some questions, but can you give us just a really quick rundown? You've already told us a lot of stuff you do. But when people come to you, do you have sort of a plan that you walk everyone through, or do you customize each plan depending on what the person wants? How do you work with people?
So I always have my standard list, which are the book spotlight showcases. Those are what majority of people do. Years ago, blog tours were really famous. Release blitzes, those don't generate as much as they once did. So I, a couple of years ago, created other things. I just found other things. But I do always, and that's why my prices are not listed on my website, because I want people to understand what it is I offer. And I don't think they can get that without personal connection from me. So I do personally send an email. I have a little thing that says, what are you looking for? And then I customize it. I talk with them. What are you trying to do? What are your goals? Because what your goals may be, you may be on book 1, and that's a totally different plan than if you're on book 18 and you've already done the previous 17 with me. Everybody already knows you. So I do customize a lot of that with the plan. And that's what I like to do is I like to be able to write an email and let people know about me, about what I offer, why those are important, and then find out their goals, so that we can do it together. And, you always have a price point. Sometimes somebody can't afford a certain thing. And so you have ways that you have to say, well, we could still get a different result, but this also works with your budget. So I do always like to do that one-on-one. And you just can't get that by looking at a price list because you have no idea what it is I do.
Right, right. And you said you have about 100 reviewers who work with you. So what do they do?
So I have over 130, and we grow every day, every year, all the time. Some leave, some come back. So that in-house team, they get first access to any book that is run through a tour. They get the book for free, and in exchange, they leave a review. And it doesn't have to be a good review because it's whatever they think of it.
You want it
So
to
an
be
author
honest.
automatically, gets access to a team of reviewers that they may not ever get by just putting their book out somewhere else. But I'm also very, my team would probably say strict if you ask them, because they have a certain amount of time. We run the tour for a certain amount of time. They have to do it. If they are late even by a day, we are messaging them. You've got to do this. You agreed to this. They all have to sign an NDA. They all have to sign a contract. And so that an author gets a great head start just from that, that you don't necessarily get when you do other random book promotions of offering a free book. And I'm sure you know that sometimes you offer an ARC and 100 people sign up and one person turns in a review.
And then what do authors do with these reviews? Can they use them as quotes on their publicity material?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. So they can do that. And, and we don't just do that because I am a promotion company. So, we say you should never expect even a single review because that's not what we do. And that's something that authors don't realize is when you start paying for actual reviews in that, it's against Amazon's terms of service. You as an author can lose your entire account and be banned forever. The person who reviewed can lose their reviewing privileges for the rest of their life. So that's not what we do. We promote the book. And part of that is we do a whole array of, Instagram postings, Facebook postings, website postings, YouTube videos. And in addition to that, we offer the book for reviewers to choose. They all choose. We don't assign them. They decide what they want to read, if they want to read. And that's how it goes, and so that's very important. A lot of authors don't realize Amazon's terms of services until it's too late. And then it's a big problem.
Right. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for that info. I want to get to some questions here because we have quite a few. And if you could all please put your questions in the Q&A box, if those of you came in late, because if they're in the chat box, I might miss them. So here's a question on reviews for pay. So there are certain sites like, for example, Kirkus Reviews. As a self-published author, an indie author, you can pay to get a Kirkus review. Now it will be an honest review. It might not be a good review, but having a Kirkus review that you can put on your publicity material is a good review source. That's a lot of teachers, librarians, people like that look for those kinds of reviews before they're going to order your books. Bill asks, do you know of these review for pay, are some better than others? How do you determine which ones to use? Do you work with authors on that very much?
For me personally, because we have our own in-house team, I don't help them with other avenues. I can tell you Goodreads, now it's a toss-up on Goodreads because sometimes you have people who their literal mission is just to bash a bunch of authors. But starting Goodreads, that's a great way. One of the best sites right now is BookBub. An author should always try and be on BookBub. It has become hugely popular. Not only that, but you get a lot of, they have paid advertising as well. They have emails that they send out. If you can get a BookBub deal, it's amazing. You will
Mhm.
see tremendous downloads.
Mhm.
So that has been a very good one.
Right.
And it's expensive, but even, not even for the paid advertising, just having your name on BookBub, having other people review your books on BookBub, it has become huge in the
Mhm.
in the market,
Right.
um, for people.
Okay, that's good to know. So people are asking the link. So it's book, bookbub.com,
.com.
right? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, bookbub.com. Great.
And then
Uh,
authors can go there and they can claim their author name on there. And that's what they want to do. They want to become a member first.
okay, great, great. We have a question here. If you had only one social media outlet to spend your day on, which is the most efficient to reach readers and teachers and buyers? So, a lot, and we have a question here on STEM picture books, which might be nonfiction. So, a lot of children's books are really targeted to schools and libraries. I guess I'm asking you two separate questions here. So, let's first talk about the one social media outlet. If you only have time to do one today, what do you recommend?
It would be Instagram.
Okay.
That would be, if you only have, it's quick, it's easy, you could do it very fast, and it's become extremely popular, and it's not as bogged down as other social media. So if I could only do one today, it would be Instagram. And then TikTok, like I said, TikTok's pretty popular.
Okay, great. Now, do you have any tips or strategies for reaching the schools and the teachers?
I don't.
Mhm.
Because I don't market directly to
Right.
that demographic, I haven't.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that if somebody asks for it, I can't help them find it. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
always happy to do some research, and I'm fortunate that I have a sister-in-law who's a teacher. So I'll just call her and say, I need info.
Mhm.
And so
Sure.
I'm happy to find that information and
Mhm.
give it to you so that you can
Right.
respond and let people know.
Okay, great. And another big market for children's writers is the homeschooling market. And I know there are websites, blogs, etc., that cater specifically to homeschooling parents. So if someone wanted to reach that market, again, you could research and help figure out how to do that.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And groups on Facebook are really good for that. Um, you know, I homeschooled my daughter for 4 years. And so there are a lot of groups on Facebook that you can go into and find that and meet with other parents. So those would be good at
Mm-hmm.
Facebook wise groups.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great idea. Great idea. Dory, you have a question about two of your books that you would like an idea of cost for promotion. You will need to contact Colleen directly on that, and I'll put her website up again at the end, so you could do that, and I'm sure she will get back to you. um, Pinterest. What do you think of Pinterest as far as a
I
media?
like Pinterest.
Mhm.
You know, our Pinterest has roughly 58,000 images, every day that are shared I am a Pinterest person.
Mhm.
So I like it. It's easy to put on different book places to share. So I am a big believer in Pinterest.
Mhm. Okay. Someone asked about. I'm sorry. I meant to answer your question before I deleted it about paying for Kirkus reviews. I can just tell you, I know a few authors who have done that, who have self-published, and they thought it was worth it because they got a good review. And then they were able to put that on all of their material, quote, a good Kirkus review. And like I said, it's a very prestigious review source. So if you feel confident that they will give you a good review, I think it's worth it. But you just never know. They will not guarantee a good review um, if you pay for that. Okay. Uh, do you have any recommendations for platforms for virtual events? For example, Facebook Live versus Zoom versus Instagram. Can you do live events on Instagram? I'm not as adept at Instagram. Um,
I like Zoom.
mhm,
That's my preference. Facebook Live has been pretty good. But I find that Zoom has the better quality and they allow you to do quite a bit for free. without having to pay the
Right.
extravagant expenses or cutting your feed, which happens quite often on Facebook. You know,
Yes.
if they deem that you said something you shouldn't have seen, or somebody comments, or somebody reports you, it goes away. And
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube, I like doing YouTube live videos. Those also work very well.
Mhm. Right.
And they also, you know, one of the things that I like about YouTube is you have no choice but to mark whether it's kid friendly or not. So when your kid is on there, you know, if you're going towards children's books, you have a better idea of being marketed towards the kid friendly area.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, good to know. And if you happen to have a Zoom webinar account like we do, you can stream Zoom and onto Facebook and onto YouTube simultaneously, um, which we have done. But like you said, it's very hard to monitor three, comments all at once. So we stopped doing that because I was worried we would get a comment on Facebook that was inappropriate, and we would get shut down. But that is possible to do if you have the Zoom webinar account, which most people wouldn't unless you're doing webinars all the time. Um, how does a new author find out about author takeovers or Zoom takeovers? Are they advertised regularly? So you talked about takeovers earlier, and that is a part of your services, but you also talked about it in a more general sense. Can you kind of give us a little more information on what that is exactly?
So most promotion companies will do that. Best way to find them is on Facebook, you know, and it's different groups. So you would
Okay.
want to go in and find the children's group. Most of the admins will have what their rules are, what they offer,
Huh.
but you can always hit up that admin and say, would you allow me to do this? Can I come in? And you will find that, you know, the book community as a whole are some of the most giving, wonderful
Hmm.
people you'll ever meet.
Mhm.
You know, you always have a couple of bad apples, like in everything. But if you reach out to an author and say, hey, can you help me? Most authors will help other authors. It's a good community. So
Mhm.
Facebook groups is a great thing. Ask the admins. For us, as far as ours, it's part of all of our book spotlight
Mhm.
packages. It's included in that. We also have a separate where you could just do that. Because I
Mhm.
have a itsy bitsy bit, but it's party room. So it's a group on Facebook. And so in that group, you could do one in that group. It's like 7,500 people right now.
Mhm. And then when you do a takeover as the author, what do you do? Is it kind of like doing a Facebook Live kind of thing, but
Kind of.
in the group?
So you come in, you talk about your books, and whether you do it as a live or you do it as, you know, the way it's been done for as long as I've been in the business, but probably longer, where you post different photos. So you already have your photos and your wording ahead of time, and you kind of go in and you post, you know, an introduction, and then you wait like 5 minutes and you post, this is about my first book, and then you go in 4 minutes later and you post about your next book. So you can
Hmm.
do that, but you know what most people do is they talk about their books, usually whatever came before this book, or if this is their first book, the first book. A lot of people do fun little games, you know, and you've seen all the different memes that are all over Facebook. You know,
Mhm.
I never did this, or how many kids are in this. So they do a lot of those, a lot of games. Some do giveaways, and sometimes it's, you know, a free e-copy. Sometimes it's a free signed book. Some will do gift cards,
Hmm.
and so, you know, it's really is like a party,
Uh-huh.
where you're playing games and you're talking and giving away stuff. Some authors give away nothing and they still have extremely successful feedback.
Mhm.
They'll put their newsletter link to try and build up their
Right.
newsletter readers. And so
Mhm.
that's what it is, just complete interactive action. And sometimes they fly by the seat of their pants, and you think that you're going to do one thing, and then 30 minutes later, you forgot what you even started the conversation with.
Right.
But it allows people to interact with you. And that's what, you know, as a reader, that's what they want. They want to feel like the author is just an everyday normal person who is like them. And it
Mhm.
allows them to be personal and do that.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. That sounds like fun if you especially if you can think on your feet as an author and just kind of roll with it, not worry too much about
Exactly.
what's going to happen. Yeah. Yeah. Do you do promotions for nonfiction as well as fiction?
I do. For us, there's not a genre we don't do. We do every genre, even
Mhm.
hobby books I've done, books that are about crocheting. So yes, Itsy Bitsy Book Bits does every genre.
Mhm. I imagine in a lot of ways nonfiction is easier because you can zero in on the audience. A book on crocheting, there's going to be those people are going to hang out in specific places
Right.
online and you can go right to them. So it's probably easier in a lot of ways.
It is where it's not easier is they're also not as popular
Mm, yeah.
as a fiction book.
Hmm.
But yeah, definitely they're much easier to market. It's a
Hmm.
smaller crowd as well. So it
Hmm.
can be a lot more
Yeah.
pinpointed.
Right, right. We've had a couple questions here on the author newsletter. What do you suggest authors put in their newsletter, and how often should it come out? Any
So
advice?
most people, I've taken polls on it. Most people want a newsletter no more than twice a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually gives them enough time, and I, for instance, signed up to download a free book. That author has put me on their newsletter. I have received 9 emails in the past 3 days.
Mm.
I unsubscribed very quickly.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
in a newsletter, as I've mentioned earlier, people want to know about you. So always something personal. We understand that your book is your baby,
Mm-hmm.
but we want to connect. So, something small, it doesn't have to be something big, but where you went on vacation this week, or what you're watching on TV, what book you're reading, something that connects so that people feel connected to you.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I can tell you, I know for authors, it's exciting. And I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but my husband is a published author, and him and I are co-writing our first book together.
Mm-hmm.
So from an author perspective, it's important to us that we're bestsellers or how many awards we win or how many awards we won. But the average reader, that is not what they care about at all. I've taken a huge poll, and a lot of people have said, if I see a bunch of reviews from other authors, I don't care, because it just tells me their friends liked their book.
Right.
And so put some of that in your newsletter. Put your bestseller emblem. If you made a USA bestseller list, that's freaking exciting.
Yeah.
So put that, but don't make that the focus of your newsletter. Links, quick links that they can go to right away, your social
Mm-hmm.
media links to the book. Make sure it's bold enough where they know where it's taking them, and
Mm-hmm.
keep your newsletters fairly short.
Mm-hmm.
um, don't send out a 4-page newsletter, because nobody's going to read it after the first 2 paragraphs. They're out.
Mm-hmm.
um, what's coming next is a great thing. Tell them what you're working on, how you feel with what you're working on. Are you excited? Why did you choose this? What can they look forward to? What is making you excited?
Mm-hmm.
All about connecting, and they'll continue to open your newsletters, and they'll read them.
Right. Do you ever advise authors kind of involve their newsletter subscribers in the writing of the book? For example, I'm trying to come up with a name for my character's dog. Send me your
Absolutely.
favorite dog names, and whichever one I pick, you'll get a free copy of my book when it comes out, or stuff like that. Is that a good idea?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because people want to feel included. They want to feel like they're a part of it, and doing that in not just your newsletter, but on your social media accounts. When you're on Facebook, you know, here are the 5 ideas I've come up with for, I need a girl who is cute and redheaded and lots of freckles. Give me a name.
Mm-hmm.
And take a poll. People like to be interactive. So I always recommend doing that with the reader, involving them as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Doing a bingo or a game that, next week, answer this riddle. Next week, we'll announce who won.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, fun things that are interactive, personal, always very
Mm-hmm.
important.
Okay, great, great. I've had a couple of questions here on school visits. First of all, do you ever help authors set up school visits, or is that just something they do separate from the marketing? And do you think this is still a viable thing. I mean, obviously during COVID, it's harder. A lot of authors are doing virtual visits. But do a lot of your clients do school visits? Do we think this is going to be something that will come back?
I think that's so. I don't personally help any authors get school visits, not because I can't or won't. I've just never been asked to. There's not much I won't do if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, what do you think about this?" I'll help in any way that I can. So
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that I haven't done, it's just because nobody's ever asked me to.
Mm-hmm.
I think, especially with children's books, I think it is something that'll come back because kids like to be able to see that person, to feel that person's energy, to be able
Mm-hmm.
to touch the book, or so for children's books especially, I think it will definitely come back, and I think it's very important. Young kids, 4, 5, 6, 7, they're not as into the computer outside of games,
Yeah.
but interacting with people because it doesn't seem real to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's definitely something that will come back. For older books or adult books, I don't think it will probably ever be like it once was,
Right. Right.
because most adults work and we have other things going on, and so it's much easier to sit in front of the computer when you have an extra 10 minutes than drive and do all of that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I think we're so starved for in-person interaction at this point, though. Who knows? It's going to be really interesting to see sort of what happens when things really start opening up again. Okay, I'm just going to do one more question here. Let's see. Um, Someone asked about, okay, so I want to have a launch party and send out ARCs. Those are advanced review copies for people who might not know that term. Can my friends leave a review while my book is still in the pre-order state, or should I tell them to wait until my book goes officially live on Amazon? So I think she's asking here about Amazon reviews in general. Do you know if people can leave reviews while books are still on pre-order?
They cannot
Okay.
in pre-order stuff unless they're part, like there is one exclusive club, and it's a pretty exclusive club that they can. But overall, you cannot leave a review on the site until the book is live. The exception is, like, let's say you have an ebook that's going to be pre-ordered, but you've already published the paperback copy. They could leave the review on the paperback copy because that's already been published, but not on the ebook.
Right.
However, also as part of Amazon's terms of service, friends and family, if they are caught leaving reviews, can be used
Right.
against you,
And don't you
even if
have
you
to,
buy the book.
right. And don't you have to have actually purchased the book on Amazon in order to review it?
You do not.
Okay.
You have to purchase it for it to be a verified review.
Oh,
But no, you can leave reviews that are unverified. But like I said, especially where, even me, I could not leave a review on my husband's book, and I bought the dang thing. I paid for the e-copy, but
right,
because, same household, family, friends, Amazon blocks it.
right, right. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Amazon knows all, basically, is what we're saying here.
Sadly, yes. And they have a
Well, let me
lot of
put
rules.
your, yes, I'm going to put your website info back up here. Here's a link to her website, to Colleen's site, and also you can go straight to the list of her author services there. And again, BookBub was the other site she mentioned, BookBub, as in boy,
Utah.
underwear, boy. .com. So, well, Colleen, thank you so much. This has just been amazingly informative. I learned a lot tonight. I know a lot of our viewers did too. So I really appreciate your time and all your expertise. And I encourage anybody who has more questions for Colleen to give her a to go on her website and contact her, and she will be happy to answer all your questions. All right.
Thank you so much for inviting me on, Laura. I look
Mhm.
forward to talking with you further.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, thanks everybody, and we will see you next week. Good night.